Great to be with you all. And I feel like my practice hasn't always had such a strong intention behind it, but lately I really do practice to keep my heart open in the world. It's hard. So it's nice to have a place to practice doing that. So the Parsha this week is called Behalotcha, and I want to share a teaching on it. You're welcome to look at the source sheet that Natalie just shared in the chat. I also welcome you not to. It's a pretty simple source sheet, but I'm going to teach a text from Rabbi Nachman, who lived from 1772 to 1810, and he was very imaginative. So I do want to invite you into that space of imagination that often does take us away from intellect. So look at the source sheet or don't. I want to invite you to get into a whatever kind of position suits you to just receive this teaching from Rabbi Nachman. So the second line of our parsha this week, Behalotcha, in English, it says, when you mount the lamps, the 7 candles. So Moses is telling Aaron to mount the lamps and the 7 candles on the menorah. So a menorah has 7 candles. Hanukkah is one with 8. So mounting these lamps, the 7 candles shall shine toward the face of the menorah. Like, it sort of seems like something that makes sense if you just hear it once, but if you really think about it, it doesn't make any sense. Like, what does that mean? How could the candles shine toward the face of the menorah? They shine toward the air. Like, what is this talking about? So people have been asking this question for thousands of years. And in the medieval times, in the 12th century, Rashi came in and he said, okay, I think this actually means, I think that the 7 candles facing the menorah, it means that the flames shall rise up on their own accord. That's Rashi's interpretation of what it means for the candles to shine toward the face of the menorah. So then Rabbi Nachman comes in the 18th century, and he's like, all right, let's make some sense of this. So he goes off on this crazy tangent that I'm going to take you on. And it's very verbose. This teaching goes on for pages and pages. We're going to get it. We're going to get this. I'm going to tell you this teaching in about 2 minutes or 3, maybe 4, but I'm going to try my best to condense it. So basically, Rabbi Nachman takes these 2 lines. When you mount the lamps, the 7 candles shall shine toward the face of the menorah. And then Rashi's comment, the flame shall rise up on its own accord. And he's like, all right, obviously, we need to talk about Psalm 139, line 5, which says, Achor v'tzortani, Achor v'kenem tzortani, which means back and front, you created me. Okay. So then Rabbi Nachman says, I'm going to give you a little cosmology about what Rabbi Nachman says, and then we're going to open it up. So Rabbi Nachman says that this back and front, God, you created me, it's referring to 2 different types of intellect. I know this is getting weird, but just stick with me for a second. So there's 2 different, Rabbi Nachman's like, all right, this means, this line in Psalms means that we're created with 2 different kinds of intellect. One is called front, one is called back. In the middle of those 2 intellects, in the middle of our bodies, there's a heart, right? It's beating right now. You can feel it. You feel the front and the back side of your body. And in the middle, there's a heart. So the heart is surrounded in Rabbi Nachman's little cosmology right now between these 2 intellects. Now, we can let go of the physicality for a second. Rabbi Nachman says the one that's called back, the one that's called achor, that type of intellectual knowledge is the type that comes on really slowly. This is like the type of intellect that's slow and plodding in our mindfulness practice. For me, I started practicing with loving kindness in 2017. It could not receive anything. Every time I'd say, may I be happy or whatever. Every time my heart would totally shut down, and I would on retreat, just nope, just cry or have aversion, whatever. Seriously, my last retreat, I just left a retreat about 2 weeks ago. I finally was able to receive. And at first I was just doing it. And then I was like, oh my God, I've never been able to do this. So that practice took me 8 years. That is that slow intellect. It's the type of practice that you don't realize you've made progress in. It could take 8 years. You need multiple introductions, a long, long time. That's called achor. That's called back. The front type of intellect, according to Rabbi Nachman, he calls it, so in the Psalms, front is kedem. Rabbi Nachman's like, well, you can either call it kedem or you can call it face, because it's talking about the front of the body. This type of intellect, according to Rabbi Nachman, is it's like satori in Japanese, like that Japanese word for instant awakening. It's the kind of intellect that hits you all at once. Like you're walking down the street and you have a revelation all of a sudden. You know what I'm talking about? It's these moments of stumbling into great awakening, or you sit And maybe you have a sit and you're no peace at all. You're sitting for like 30 minutes and you're just like thinking and thinking and thinking. You get up, you make some tea, the steam catches the light, and you're like, oh my God, I can see the interconnections of the universe. Like, I believe in God, like right now. You just get it in 1 second. That type of intellect takes no preparation at all. He is calling Kedem, and he says that that's Shefa. It's this godly influx. So for the backside type of intellect, you have to work at it. For the front side, you can't even do anything. It's like those accidental falling into great momentous mindfulness and reverie. So there's those two different types of intellect, right? Back, front side, super fast. It's Shefa. The front side, according to Rabbi Nachman, feeds the heart. It feeds the heart, and because it happens so fast, it produces an inner heat. And for Rabbi Nachman, that makes the flame of the heart rise up on its own accord. So when you get hit with these revelatory moments, the Shefa influx comes in, you get like these moments of great awakening, your heart is filled with inspiration and its flame rises up on its own accord. You can't control your heart's opening. It just happens and you're there for it. If you prepare, you're there for it. So Rabbi Nachman's like, you can't really prepare for this type of intellect to come in, but it's going to happen, and it's going to happen through the sense doors. These are the sense doors right here on the face. We got the ears, eyes, nose, and mouth. Anything that's going to cause this influx, this godly influx, it's going to enter in by something you hear, see, smell, taste. You might hear yourself saying something. It's going to enter through the sense doors. So Rabbi Nachman's like, all right, it's going to enter through the sense doors, and it's going to influence the heart, this type of fast intellect. And then that's going to raise up on its own accord. So then you're like, okay, like this is all so interesting. You might have forgot, but we're talking about this line in Behalocha. When you mount the lamps, the 7 candles shall shine toward the face of the menorah. The flame shall rise up on its own accord. So maybe you're hearing it already. The flame of the heart's going to rise up on its own accord when it gets hit with this Shefa intellect that comes in through the sense doors. Now, this is the cool part of the teaching that we're going to practice with. We got 2 ears. You can hear this in godly influx. You might hear something sweet that just awakens your heart. You got 2 eyes. You might see something. You might really see beauty. Take it in, and that really opens your heart. And it's hard to do. It's hard to take beauty in, but you have those moments where you really see it. It opens up your heart. You might smell something that takes you into a place of reverie. 2 nostrils. Like, wow. Like, I just went to the rose garden the other day. They're all in bloom. Like, you can't help but be in a state of reverie for a little bit. Or you might hear yourself say something. You got 1 mouth. Rabbi Nachman's like, this is the menorah. There's 7 sights. There's 7 sights right here on the face. These are the 7 candles. So we orient these 7 candles toward beauty, because we can't control when those moments of Shefa are going to hit, but we can practice with this menorah right here, these 7 flames right here on the face, to just practice with those. That's what the line means to him. So we're going to mount the lamps, these 7 candles. We can't really do anything about it, but we're going to practice so that they shine toward the face of the menorah, so that when the time comes, when we get hit with that godly influx, that Shefa, those moments of just like unbelievable reverie, we don't know when they're going to come. It could happen in a dream. Our senses are they're ready for that. We're just practicing to see sweetness and beauty in the world. Like on a day like today, I don't need to tell you how hard that is. So much harder to see. Wow, it is rough out there. But to go walk out on the street and see like a little bit of grass growing between the concrete, like you do, there's beauty, and really training to see that. So we're going to practice with this today, this teaching of taking in sweetness. One of the ways of doing it is really just being with what is here. We can't really, we don't know when we're going to see beauty. So I'm going to invite us into a posture and we'll sit for a little while. I know there was a lot of words, but really it's about preparing our senses to have, the teaching, those preparing ourselves for the accidents of momentous awareness, right? So let's get into a comfortable position. Thanks for listening to me talk really fast. We'll get into a nice position and start to close the eyes. And as we do, really letting the eyes rest in the skull, really letting them be in their place. We don't have to go searching. Instead, we start to prepare our senses to receive. So receiving, it's a practice. Part of the way of doing it is just relaxing. So really, we start with the eyes and we let them rest in their place. Takes a while, letting them kind of melt away from that screen awareness, letting the brow soften. Mine was a little furrowed, trying to speak, trying to understand, just really letting that. It's a place of trust, just releasing. It would come to the ears, just being aware of the ears and even letting the ears soften. It's a bit subtle, but no longer straining to try to hear or catch exactly what's going on. Just resting the ears. That could mean resting the jaw a bit. They're pretty connected. We come to the center of the face and just noticing the nostrils, taking a really nice deep breath. The nostrils are great teachers of reception. They show us just how to receive. We don't ever think about throughout the day what it's like to breathe. We just do it. The nostrils effortlessly receiving. We can really up the game of the reception and take a really deep breath and keep that going. Maybe as we breathe, you can sort of notice the ways that the senses on the face, the nose, the ears, the eyes, especially as we take deep breaths, you can feel how the senses connect to the lower parts of the body. Take a deep breath into the belly and let it fill the chest. You can feel the heart. There's a connection between the heart and the senses. We'll come back to the mouth, really letting the tongue relax if you haven't already. Letting the jaw go again. This is really the essence of the teaching. We just have this brief moment together where our senses are taking in what's here. We don't have to strive or strain. We don't have to understand. We'll just spend 10 minutes in this simple place of letting ourselves receive just exactly what's here. Could be receiving the heart, receiving the breath, receiving sense awareness. We'll sit in silence, trusting wherever it is you go and coming back again to the sense awareness. And remembering that Rabbi Nachman's teaching all the intellect, we were really just landing in the body, landing right here in sense awareness. And remember, there's nothing about effort in the teaching. It's really just resting back, trusting, trusting the line of the song. Back in front, you created me. All you have to do is be created. Just trusting, receiving, not striving, resting back. And if you find your mind wandering, you can go back to letting the eyes soften, letting the ears soften, letting the breath deepen, letting the jaw and mouth soften. Really practicing resting the senses, allowing for receiving. We just have about 1 more minute to really indulge in this precious moment of quiet. Maybe taking the deepest breath or paying note to the heart. Just savor together a final moment. And as we start, we'll shift to drawing the senses outward, just trying to keep in that soft place, just seeing. You don't have to look, hearing, you don't have to really listen, just seeing how it is to practice continuously as we transition, softly, taking your time. Very brave practice to receive in this world. Thank you for sitting with me this morning.
Thanks so much, Rabbi Genevieve Greinetz. That was really an exquisite practice. When we seal it today, as we do each day, for those of you who are in mourning or observing your yard site, if it's your custom to join in the mourner's Kaddish, you're invited to do so. If you're not reciting Kaddish, we encourage you to please stay present for a moment to support those who are mourning. Thanks to Natalie for sharing the words on the screen. You can put the name or names of anybody you're honoring today in the chat now or after you recite Kaddish. And if you are joining me, please rise in body or in spirit, and you can unmute at this time. Yitgadal v'yitkadash me Rabbi. Mama divrach yute v'yikon v'yomechon v'yeh b'chol beit Yisrael ba'agala v'yariv Yehish me Rabba Barach V'Amay Amaya Barach v'yishtabach v'yid'ar v'yit'al v'yit'aseh v'yishtar v'yit'aleh v'yit'alash me'Isha Ela min kol birchata v'shirata v'shbachata v'nechamata v'amiran ba'alma
Reinu v'al Kol Yisrael
Yehi Shlama Rabba min Shemayim v'chaim aleinu Yisrael
Reinu v'al Kol Yisrael v'al
v'yamin
Kol Yisrael v'al
Yaseh
Yisrael
Shalom b'Mrama
Shalom,
Yisrael
Amen.
Friends, thanks so much for joining us today. Thanks to our teacher today, Rabbi Genevieve Greinetz, for this really beautiful teaching. Everyone's invited to stay on for a few minutes just to share your experience with that practice, or ask a question, join us in conversation about it. And if you're leaving us now, I want to wish you all a Shabbat Shalom. Pray for safety, for peace, and for a peaceful Shabbat for all. Hope you have a restorative Shabbat. And we'll be back here next week. Just a reminder that next week, IGS is closed on Thursday, which is Juneteenth, 19th of June. There will be no live session on Thursday next week, but we'll be here Monday through Wednesday and a week from today on Friday live. So just want to make note of that. If you have a question you'd like to ask Genevieve, please put it in the chat. And if you can, preface a question by writing question all in caps, and I'll keep an eye out, try to work your question in. Kol hakavod, Genevieve, that was really, first of all, just very, very impressive to have condensed a very rich complex teaching into that manageable and accessible, beautiful teaching. So thank you for that. I'd like to kind of reflect back the teaching, see if we got it right, and then dig in a little bit. Um, uh, the Torah portion, as you said, it begins with this description about the lighting of the lights of the menorah, and it's got this very weird wording of description of it. It says to orient the lights of the menorah towards the front of the menorah, right? So got that so good so far. So what does that mean? How do you do that? And then Rashi says what that refers to, the Bahalotcha is that you should kindle them in a way that the flame rises on its own. And then we have this Rabbi Nachman picks up on this line from Psalms, which talks about that we were formed with the front and the back. And he says the front, which like the front of menorah is this. And he has these two, as you say, it's two minds, two intellects. What is it?
Yeah. I mean, two
ways of
two different like ways of perception or thinking.
Perception, right? Okay. So I really first just like what an amazing teaching.
Right.
To be aware of that, the kind of awareness and insight that comes over time, and is gradual, and then the kind of sudden epiphanies or moments of awareness. And I loved, the example of sitting and fidgeting for half an hour and then making tea and then, seeing the secrets of the universe and the steam of the tea. That's a good one. I want to hear more about that vision of yours. Presumably that was not hypothetical. And then the mind-blowing part, of course, is the 7 lights of the menorah corresponding to the 7 gates of our ways that we take it in through the ears. I had to count 2 ears, 2 eyes, 2 nostrils, and a mouth. 7, count them. So far so good. So that we can, so that the heart, which is between that front and the back, is the light that rises on its own when we engage in those parts, right? So I got it.
Right. Exactly. That was amazing.
I was with you. I was with you every step of the way. Now, the thing that I really am interested in discussing is because I thought, well, this is really such a great pre-Shabbat teaching, is that one would think that in order to do that, you need to be on high alert and really like use your eyes, use your ears, use your mouth, use your nose, like really, strive, use effort, and lack of, as opposed to that you need to be vigilant and on high alert, that actually we can receive, that the process can work. Maybe that's true sometimes. I don't know. That's what I'm interested in exploring with you, is that maybe that is what's called for sometimes, but then there's times that where it's possible to lift that flame or have the flame rise on its own, not striving, by, actually close your, if you have vision, close your eyes, relax, breathe easy. And it seems paradoxical, but actually that something creative happens by letting go of the inclination to create, which is why I was thinking this is such a beautiful Shabbat teaching, because that is basically give your ears, eyes, and nose a Shabbat. And if you do that, you will receive. And of course, receiving Torah is the main thing on Shabbat, right? It's the day when we read the whole Torah portion, and the day of reception, and all the stories and midrashim about Mount Sinai about receiving Torah have to do with that kind of preparing ourselves to receive, not to do it ourselves. So I guess that's what I want to invite you to discuss a little bit, if you would. Like, what do you think about that? Is there a time when we do that by really engaging the senses in that way? Or is it being aware that we have these senses, but giving them a rest?
Right. I love that thought and the question. And I also love that Rabbi Nachman tells us that there's these two different intellects, right? Because I do think that like the engagement and like the grappling and the striving is important. I love intellectual pursuit. I love to study. And it's not like I can just study and be like, all right, it's not like I'm going to an art museum. I can blur my eyes and look at a painting. Like if I'm trying to study a text, I'm like furrowed brow, like bent over, like looking at it, pointing at it, underlining it. It's like, and I think that's like the slower intellect, but then I can just say from my experience, sometimes when I'm looking out in the world for months on end, I go on retreat and it takes me 2 or 3 days to get into a softer place where I can actually be affected by beauty. Because in the world, I can see it. I can see trees when I'm walking around in my day-to-day life. But I think there's something different that happens when my senses and my nervous system relax enough that I can actually I can be in the forest and not be looking at it. I can take it in. Do you know what I mean? And I think when we let that awareness fill us, suddenly it's not about me anymore. It's like, you're huge. Your awareness is huge. You're in the forest. There's so many different ways of perception. And suddenly your intellect isn't looking out. It's more like it's a part of the ecosystem or something. It's like, it's receiving. And then and I think what Rabbi Nachman says, what he articulates a little more in the teaching, I didn't get to say so much because I was trying to condense.
There you go. Go ahead. Go for it.
He says, like, these sense doors, like they enrich the heart and the heart enriches them. So when the flame rises up on its own, when we feel that inspiration of heart, then we might even see more beauty in the world. And then when we're taking it in, it can also really get to the heart. And I think it's a beautiful practice because you have to seek, like, you have to strive, you have to put your brain in a bit of striving mode to receive the news, right? And also when I take the news and I can't receive it that much. Like when I do, I just cry and that happens. But then it's like, if I'm just sitting with those thoughts, like they're informing my heart and it's broken and it hurts. And it takes discipline to go on a walk and receive the world, because the world feels scary, right? But then if you actually let in the beauty, then your heart starts to open. And it's what Rabbi Nachman, it's like this, it's good to give ourselves these bubbles of practice so that we can kind of do both. I think the softening's, I think it's crucial. And I think it's like a practice because it's not natural. I mean, it is the most natural thing, but it's not programmatically natural to walk around the world that way right now, especially.
That is really wonderful. The other thing I was thinking of, when in locating the light of the menorah in the heart, and I started thinking, since we're still fresh out of the Omer, kind of I was thinking, spherotically, basically, right, about Tiferet being the heart in some way. And at some point you were talking about, I guess you were talking about practicing Chesed, right, and Gevurah. So I got a little bit, in my head there for a moment, thinking about, well, how does that work? Is the Chesed the back, or, and Gevurah is right now? Not that. But any relationship there that you would connect with, or not? We don't have to go down. We don't have to get in the weeds there.
I have to say, like, I don't speak that language very well.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah, like I was really into Kabbalah for years, and then I just never really got back into it. So I struggle with the spirit. But I'd love to hear more, because I know Rabbi Nachman, he was in that world. He was speaking that language, and I love the way he speaks it, because he speaks it with Talmud and he speaks it with Midrash and he speaks it with Rashi. So if it's speaking to you right now, I feel like you should say more, because it's probably there in the text and I'm not
sure I guess I'm not saying, but there's, first of all, there's tremendous amount of appreciation in the chat, which I'll make sure you get, how much people appreciated the teaching and the practice today. But also there's some interesting contributions here about Sfirot and about Chabad, and let's not get down too much into the weeds there. But let's go back maybe to that interplay between active, for lack of a better term, I'm just going to say active and passive, or receptive versus, or striving versus non-striving. Let's stick with that, right? in terms of meditation practice. Because maybe the striving, you're describing the kind of, working at it that leads to that aware, the back perception, the ability to perceive. You're describing like engaging in practice that over time yields awareness and insight. So maybe that is the striving. It's this combination of that plus this receptivity to, I wonder, my friend and colleague Rabbi Jonathan Slater fond of just like his like catchphrase with meditation is basically, I wonder what's going to happen next. I wonder what will happen now. Which is, that kind of beginner's mind, open mind, Hitlamdut stance towards the world, which I think corresponds to what you were inviting us into today about like, let it come, let it arise, right?
Right. Right.
And those of our, like first of all, Mazel Tov on the book of poetry. Maybe you can talk, I don't know what your process of poetry writing is like, but I know for me, the writing process is, it's a striving effort. And then for many people who do any writing at all or creative practice, we know that, it's only when we like take a walk around the block, right? There was when it's like, oh, that's what I was going to say. When we're daydreaming or thinking about something else, and all of a sudden, boom, there it is, right?
Totally. I absolutely agree with that for the creative process.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think, and I love what you shared about what Jonathan Slater teaches. I wonder what's going to happen next. Because it's like, I shared at the beginning of the practice, like my intention behind practicing and prayer lately is to keep my heart open in the world. But I can't sit around and be like, I gotta open my heart right now. I'm sort of just like, all right, like God willing, I'm gonna sit and I'm gonna try to sensitize myself in this world, and I'm gonna pray that my heart can, you know what I mean? Like I can't will it to be open. And I think Rashi's saying that about the flames, but Rabbi Nachman is saying that Rabbi Nachman is like asserting that Rashi's saying that, but he's not. But like Rabbi Nachman's saying that you can't will the heart to open. You can just be lucky enough to be ready for it. And if you're like, and who knows, like I kind of feel like what he's saying is the way to be ready for it is to be created, and then if we want to practice, then like be created and notice the ways that like, wow, like I have senses, like I just feel like there's like this awe about it. And that too, that's so part of the creative process, and I agree. Like I set out to write my poetry book. I set out to write about, I was going to write a book of poems about the ocean. And then October 7th happened and I didn't write any. I wrote like, there's nothing about the ocean in the book. Like, and it's just, you don't know what's going to happen. It's just sort of, you receive it and you write it, it's like, yeah, all these practices do come together because of, I love the way Rabbi Nachman connects it all to just sensory awareness.
Well, all right, we're at time, Genevieve.
Okay.
Did you see something you want to respond to?
Well, I forgot to say, and I didn't put it in the
Yep.
source sheet, but this is from Likutei Moharan. It's number 21, 1. Here, this is the teaching from Rabbi Nachman. Sorry, I didn't say that.
Okay. 21:1.
Yeah.
Okay. For those who are not familiar with a fantastic online resource called Safaria, which you can check out, you can go look it up yourself. All right, we're at time. I want to thank you, Genevieve. That was really, as I said, I mean it, very extraordinary teaching and practice today. And on behalf of everyone, a lot of gratitude. Mary Salander, I want to thank you for sponsoring this beautiful practice today. And Natalie Rushinov, thanks as always for holding our space so beautifully and so responsively, and the genius of the chat and putting all the links in. So check out Genevieve's book, and I want to wish everyone Shabbat Shalom. Everyone be safe, be well, and we'll see you back here on Monday.